Went through the whole thing. Lucky enough, I have an angel watching me. So I landed up in Ulm, Germany. And a day or two after the liberation, the boys came back, a couple of boys came back and said, "Willie, we find something." "What did you find?" "Oh, we won't tell you, just we're going to take you there." So I have missed two sisters that time, and I was alone, a little child. And I said, "Okay, we go." We went towards Dachau. And when we came about 10 miles away from Dachau, you could smell the burning something in the air. And it really hit. It was so, the closer you get. And that's in 1945, right? I'm 24 years old. And it bothered me. And I came from Germany. I stopped in a police station and acted dumb. I first started in English. The guys with me were American boys, and they said to the policeman, "Could you tell us where Dachau is?" "Oh, nine." Nobody knew where it was. We finally stopped. We knew we were close. You could smell the smoke coming up, still smoking. And we stopped in a farmhouse, and we went in. I went in, and I spoke German. And I asked him, "Do you know where Dachau is?" "Nine, I don't know." So I went into her house. By that time, I carried a 45, you know, and I had enough reason to get made. And I went upstairs and I looked for the farm, and I could overlook from the back window. She had a camp right in front of her. And she said she did not know. Don't ask me what more. But when you saw it, when you walk in front of the gate, first I had a big guardhouse, and then the barbed wires, somebody still hanging on the wire that was electrical wire. The bodies were piled up on top of each other. Some of them still wiggle and try to get out. Next we saw there was a shower. They told them it's a shower, you can take a shower, but instead of water coming out, it was gas coming out. The bodies all over the floor. Connection, there was an opening where they could put him in to the oven. So we followed that. They took me around. We went around the front, and we did a big oven all in here, and the bodies still laying on the cradles, and they're burning them, and ashes piled high. I didn't know there were human ashes. The prisoners told us, the DPs, what we called them, they told us don't step on that, they're human beings. And that's what we found. Then my job was to feed them, to get up. I went back to the company and I asked the volunteer to work with them. That's what was my job. So I drew rations for them. I drew rations for the company I was with, for the American soldiers. I drew rations for the CIA and the military police. So I went extra, and when I drew rations for the American army, I carried a bottle with me. That means when I went through the ration dump, I got more than I wanted. So we took plenty there, and we collected money, and we collected clothes, and we gave everything you could do, candies and everything else. But in the camp, and what is not explained nowhere is, when the American army went in there, they were told not to touch the
survivors.
We call them the prisoners, but that's not what they were. They were interns, right? They may carry a disease.
So
but
when
the
you
American
got there,
soldier put the rifle on the side and carried them out.
so when you got there, the process was seeing men, full-grown adults,
Yeah,
emaciated, completely wasted, and then stacks and stacks of bodies. And then also, if I hear you correctly, the American soldiers wanted to do everything they possibly could to help these poor people.
Right.
And what they found out is that
They killed
every
them.
scrap of food that they gave them hurt
It's a
them.
killer.
Was died.
Oh, yeah, we gave them
Dead.
candies and they died from it.
So just the extra fats, the food that they, because they hadn't eaten in months and months,
Yes.
that what they were doing was, in the goodness of their heart, they were actually killing more people. So not that large numbers did, but a significant number of people were harmed by the American efforts to feed them. We have a couple, just about everybody in the room has some questions. I can see them on your card. Do you want to stand up and ask one? I'm going to reach all the way in, and if you talk to that camera over there, you should be heard.
I was wondering, for those of you who were in the camps, like, what food were you given and how often were you fed?
Okay,
We will get-
Mr. Go ahead.
We, in the morning, we woke up 4 o'clock in the morning because 6 o'clock we had to be at work. We're getting a slice of bread, was made from dust, sawdust, coffee, I think it was chicory, they call it ersatz.
Ersatz coffee.
Ersatz coffee, that's like a
Ersatz
chicory.
Secretly in water.
Chicken and water. And daytime we used to get the soup. You had to dive to look for something in it. There was nothing there. There was no salt. There was nothing in it. It was just plain, just old, rotten vegetables they throw in. And at night another slice. And this was our menu. But as soon as I got it, in the beginning I didn't know about it. As soon as I got the piece of bread, I ate it. If I saved it, somebody during the night stole it. They didn't care. We were fighting. After a while, we were just like animals.
That's what they were.
Thank you. I think one of the things you have to remember is, was not the Nazis' job to keep them well-fed. They didn't have time. Okay, they had work to do. You have a question, too.
Oh, yeah. How old were you when you were put in a concentration camp?
I
Okay,
was 15.
You were 15.
I was
and
14.
You were 14,
18.
18,
When I left Germany, I was 18.
18. So these are, I mean, we have seniors that are sitting in the first couple of rows. This was your life. This is what you could have
right.
expected if you had lived during this period of time. Okay, we have another question over here.
What steps did you take to get your life back together after the war?
Wow.
Work.
Small question.
Work.
How did you get your lives back together again after this whole disastrous experience?
To work.
Through work.
You try to erase it from your memory the best way you could, not to remember it, because if not, you couldn't live. It was impossible.
After I wind up in France, in Paris, and I met my wife, and she was also 3.5 years in a concentration camp. And then the one thing is to get out of Europe. But I made up my mind. I'm not going to forget it. I'm not going to thrive on it. And I never forgive them. So now I have a beautiful wife, I have a daughter, grandchildren, and a great-grandchild already. So I'm happy. I'm alive.
Terrific. How about you? You want to stand up? Okay.
Did you get to keep any of the belongings that you took with you?
Now, are you referring to the materials that they had to leave their houses with and go into the camps? Yes. Okay. Did you end up with anything left
No.
over from what you took with you?
Absolutely nothing. When you walked into Auschwitz, you left everything, and you walked in a different room. You got a shower, if you were lucky enough. If not, you were dead in the gas chamber. And you got out there, they gave you a pashak, which was called a striped uniform, and everything was left behind. Even you had pictures of your family. This is the only picture which I have, which was sent by my father in 1938 to New York. He had an uncle. And when I arrived in the United States, that's what I got back, and I enlarged it. So I have a memory of my family.
Mr. Block, you have an interesting story about one thing that you ended up leaving the camp with,
Yeah.
which was a hat.
Yeah, I
You wanna
left,
tell
I left with no hair, but I got a cap from the commandant's orders. So the people in my hometown, when I came back, shouldn't see me with no hair, because they didn't want people to know. First, they didn't want them about that I work camps. Then they didn't want them to know what, if anything, is going on there. And of course, I wouldn't talk about it because I was afraid if I do, I'll wind up right back in the camp. So I wore that cap for a month and a half at home till we left Germany. And when I crossed the border into Holland, it's the first time I took my cap off.
And I think if
That's
you told one group of kids that that was the first time that you really felt free,
free. That's exactly right.
when you had permission to take your cap off.
Can I mention something about hair? In Auschwitz, it took a machine, you know, and they shaved here, across, all the way across, like a stripe. We used to walk like this for 4 years.
Okay. Your name?
Eric. Have you ever gone back to any of the camps?
Have you ever revisited any of the camps?
I went back in '88. I took my son there, and to Dachau. And for the first time, I went to see the orphans in Dachau because I did not want to, and my wife wouldn't go there. And it happens, I heard they keep a record there of all the prisoners and all the inmates. And I went, there were maybe 500-600 school boys and girls like you, and they were all sitting outside. But I don't think they were interested in the camp. They were having a good time, and they were laughing, and I had to walk across them. And finally one of them said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I want to go to the office there and find lots of luck." She said, "You'll never get there." So my son and I, we went there, and I knocked on the door, and a woman came out halfway. She didn't come all the way out. She opened the door. Says, can I help you?" I said, "I hope so." So I said, "I'm Mr. So-and-so, and I was a prisoner in Camp Block 10 in 1938. And oh, come in, come in." When she heard that I was in camp, she asked me right away to come in. And she went through the records, and she found my record. She didn't find my father's record because he was only there 4 weeks. And when I came out, I couldn't get away from the kids. They all wanted to know why would she let me in and talk to me. So I had to tell them who I was. And all through the camp, I had about a half a dozen of them kids following me, like I'm a god for them. I didn't want to be bothered with that.
Okay. We have another question. And your name?
Serena.
And Serena, what's your question?
We just finished reading the book Night, and at the end of the book, Mr. Wiesel says that like no one really felt like that they wanted to take revenge on the Nazi party. How did you feel, and like did you really want to take revenge on them?
You
Mr.
know,
Tuck?
like he mentioned, we bought 70 pounds so. After so many years, no food, no strength. We were happy we survived. And I said before, I never forget it, I never forgive. But I'm not going to thrive on it. How can you take revenge? Look what happened. People forgetting, people even denying now that this ever happened.
Mr. Seifman, how about your sense of revenge, the need to get even for what happened to you and your family?
I want to first answer that young man, but I went back also. In Poland, I went back in 1985. I went back to visit my hometown, and then I went to Volanov, to the place where 350 people were shot. I walked in to the church. At that time, it was a Monsignor Kowalski.